Good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to you all, and happy Divine Mother's Day. My name is Jitendra, and it's a real blessing and honor to share this beautiful day with you all. I currently reside at Ananda Village, and today's topic is very fitting to celebrating this day of Divine Mother's Day. There was, in 1914, a president whom you might remember, Woodrow Wilson. I don't know too many things that Woodrow Wilson did to help better consciousness in the United States, but he did gain some good karma points, because in 1914, he was the one who established today Mother's Day as a national holiday. So, well done, Woodrow Wilson. This day of Mother's Day is very special, especially because our beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, worshipped God as Divine Mother. And Yogananda brought many, many gifts to us all of how we can learn to love God, to feel God's consciousness flowing through us in all of our actions, how we can attain right attitude, right consciousness in all that we do. And he gave a talk in 1941 on Mother's Day, and very powerfully he said, "Mothers, rejoice, be proud, celebrate that Divine Mother has taken your form to give love tangible to the world, and to not limit yourself with perhaps one child, two children, or like my good friend who I grew up with had 10 brothers and sisters. That's when I began praying for his mother and seeing just how much love and effort that she selflessly gave herself to her family. But Yogananda said not to stop there. For all of you who are beautiful channels for Divine Mother, that you should see all children as your own. And when you can expand your love, your sympathy, your compassion to all children in the world, you then will become one with Divine Mother." There's a beautiful chant that Yogananda wrote called "When My Dream's Dream is Done." And in this chant, Yogananda Ji sings to Divine Mother that it's helpful for us all to remember this very short passage in this chant, in this song, that if we can sing this to Divine Mother constantly, as he wrote, "Take the dust off each one's feet, serving Mother where she sleeps." So as we try to tune in to right action, as we try to tune into living more for God, for Divine Mother, that if we can seek every opportunity, every individual that we may cross paths with, to try to see Divine Mother and see the opportunity to serve that individual. Because it is true that Divine Mother has been the channel to birth this entire universe, who has given each of us life. And so, of course, then she dwells in each one of our hearts. And the more that we seek opportunities in our life, not in big, colossal ways, but in even the small, little details of life, if we can seek everything as an opportunity to ignite that presence of Divine Mother's love in our heart by giving to others, we then become filled with her consciousness. And then we will never have a moment in our life that we feel that we're not guided, that we're not supported. It is very helpful that Swamiji really refines our understanding of right action in today's reading. It's very common for many to see today's topic as a way of comparing outward service to inward prayer or inward contemplation of God, of Divine Mother. But he refines our understanding to embrace that this topic today is of a comparison of restless preoccupation versus peaceful absorption. And Divine Mother loves Martha as she loves Mary, but I was really trying to understand Martha's situation, because I think if you're anything like me, you find yourself in this situation sometimes where there's a big job that's ahead of you, and that the consequence of not fulfilling the request or whatever the need is, there could be consequences. And so we can very easily get caught up in restlessness. So I really started to try to understand poor Martha, as we all perhaps embrace that thought first. But I was really thinking that, Martha was doing her best with what she had. And I was trying to analyze, where did Martha go wrong? And we could probably talk about just this for a one-day workshop. But one of the largest mistakes that Martha made, and it's not as though Martha didn't receive spiritual benefit from giving herself with serving her guests and putting out that energy, but as Master said, as Yogananda said, that it's not as though she missed out on good karma, but she missed out on the highest goal, the highest gift, which is divine realization. And where Martha went wrong is that it's not that she didn't forget to ask Mary for help, but she was asking in the wrong place. It's when we turn our consciousness, when we turn our hearts to Divine Mother, when we become absorbed in that one-pointed concentration on that presence, then when we ask for help, Divine Mother, just like any mother with her child, will come rushing to their need. So this refinement of our consciousness, it's not a big leap for us. It's just we have to remember to ask the right person for help. And of course, especially if we have a family, that there's lots of Marys, and we get a real mixture. And so we have to go beyond outward circumstances and find refuge in that presence within us. With this restlessness that we get very caught up in, especially when we seek the fruits of our labor, as Krishna tells Arjuna that when we start to seek the fruits of our labor, we get caught up in restlessness. We get caught up in disappointment. Because, in fact, as Yogananda said, that nothing in this world can fulfill our desire, fulfill our heart's needs, because this world is always changing. And it is that place of Divine Mother's presence in our heart that is the only source of fulfillment. Yogananda really helped us try to find ways in which we can be putting out dynamic energy and serving God, serving Divine Mother, but at the same time to be always resting on the altar of peace in our hearts. This is a great challenge, and we have to be very active. We have to put forth lots of energy, and when we seek to serve God, and we're giving ourselves and putting out lots of energy, this is a great way to help purify our hearts and help propel us deeper on the spiritual path. But as Yogananda said, that we must remain in that inner state of calmness. And in all of chapter 2 in the Bhagavad Gita, which speaks of right action, calmness is the thread that really ties it all together. Yogananda gave us a really beautiful affirmation that I encourage you all to embrace. He gave us the affirmation that I will be neither lazy nor feverishly active in all of life's challenges. I will do my best without worrying about the future. I'll just repeat it one more time. I will be neither lazy nor feverishly active in all of life's challenges. I will do my best without worrying about the future. In this affirmation, there's a real power there that we embrace a life of service, of seeking opportunities to serve Divine Mother in all forms, but that we remain in that state of present moment awareness. When things outside of ourselves becomes complicated, which happens very often, in fact, all too often, When we see things the way they are, our ego sometimes likes to wish things to be other than they are. And the wider this gap in between the way things are and the way of the things we wish them to be, lies our restlessness. And when we are restless, our energy becomes caught and moves down and out. This is a very simple understanding of the path of yoga, that as energy within us moves inward and upward, we feel the heart opening. We feel the presence of Divine Mother. And when energy releases down and out, we feel that state of sorrow, of emptiness. And so it's a very easy thing to remember that we have to put out energy, but we have to be very aware of where our energy is flowing. Yogananda, at one time, as he came to the United States, he had a gigantic mission. His mission was to spread Kriya Yoga to the world, to bring the universality between all religions in helping us understand the oneness, and to understand that we have the potential to realize God in this life. This is a really big mission. And he, at one point, was feeling overwhelmed with all of the tasks that he had. And so he cried to Divine Mother. And Divine Mother responded, God responded, that, can't you run a pinpoint? And when I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, when I feel I have a lot to do, if Yogananda's mission was a pinpoint, how much smaller is my tasks in life? But Divine Mother was trying to help him understand that the importance of realizing that God is the doer. When I was in India, I had the great blessing to visit Mother Teresa's ashram in Calcutta. And this is where her body is. And on her casket, there were flowers that wrote out, "Love seeks to serve." It is so beautiful and so touching. Love seeks to serve. And in her ashram, there was a saying that she often would repeat, that we cannot do great things, but we can do little things with great love. And we saw this in the life of our guru, of Paramhansa Yogananda. Swami Kriyananda often would repeat a story that he could be in Yogananda's presence when Yogananda was speaking of something so small, of fixing potholes in the driveway. But when he was in Yogananda's presence and he was listening to Yogananda, he would feel waves of bliss. He would feel waves of Divine Mother's love. And so all of us, if we can again seek it in the small things in life, when we seek to become first calm, seek that calmness first. As Yogananda, as this mission that he had, he at one point told Divine Mother that he was going to walk away from this mission unless he could feel her presence. And so Yogananda gave us that great example that it's not that we should embrace, I will meditate on God, I will embrace God after I do my work, after I fulfill my duties. But he would always take that time and he would go within and meditate in prayer and chant. And then as soon as then, when he felt that presence again of God's love, of Divine Mother, then he would go forth and fulfill the duties that he's been given. This understanding of the importance of asking for help is very, very, very helpful for us. There was a time when I was serving on the East Coast, and I was in charge of coordinating a very large event where Nayaswami's Dharmadas and Nirmala, who had just come from India, they were doing this large program at a multicultural center, and most of it was music, of kirtan. And I was coordinating all aspects. I hadn't yet learned how to share duties with others. And so I was caught up in a ball of restlessness, of stress, because one, I thought I was the doer, and two, I was so focused on making sure everything was done right. And so it got to the point where I had to make sure that the sound system in this very large hall, about the size of this beautiful church, And it came down to the last big detail of setting up the sound system. Well, there was not one individual in that entire complex who knew how to get the sound system to work. I asked the director, I asked the audio-visual person, no one knew how to get it to work. And so I was running around in circles trying to pull cords and plug cords in, and nothing was working. And Dharmadas and Nirmala arrived, very peaceful and happy, and making sure, of course, that there would be audio to be singing through microphones so everyone could hear. My phone was ringing with people trying to find out how to get to the venue, and just problems everywhere. And I thought, well, I remember Yogananda said to Divine Mother that he would walk away if she didn't come. So I thought, well, let me try that. So I said, I don't need this. I mean, I could go home. I'm hungry. I could go have dinner. But again, it's that desire in us to want to serve God, serve Divine Mother, was still ignited in my heart. So I kept trying, finding out that I kept just hitting a wall. I asked everyone that was in the vicinity of this location, and no one could help me. And it was about perhaps, I think, 15 minutes before this big event started. Everyone started filling in the room. Still no audio. The microphones were set up, so that was good. It gave Nirmala and Dharmadas the understanding that there was going to be sound. And I just couldn't do this. So finally, I just got to that point of just crying to Divine Mother, Divine Mother, I need your help. I need you to help me find the solution. And as soon as I prayed with that sincere desire in my heart to give it to Divine Mother, all of a sudden, I recognized I needed a new cable. I went to this other building that was nearby, ran there, got this new cable, and wasn't aware of what I was doing, but I was just plugging things in and just hitting buttons, and there was a few minutes before the start of the program. Dharmadas and Nirmala was sitting down, meditating, and then all of a sudden, you heard the audio turn on. And we hear many stories like this, and I think we all have had that experience in our life, when we go to the edge until we cry to Divine Mother, we cry to God with that yearning for help. That's when Divine Mother comes. And really the point of this story is that I just forgot to ask until the last moment. I could have asked a lot sooner. And so as we seek to serve by feeling in our hearts that yearning for Divine Mother, in everything we do, if we start from that place, then everything will be saturated and guided by her grace. There was a very important thing that Yogananda would often say, that how can we love anything without first knowing about that object or that thing? So in that, Yogananda said that knowledge precedes love. Knowledge paves the way to loving God. And so we have to focus on knowing God first before we can offer ourselves in that devotional self-offering, which then in that offering, we open up that channel for Divine Mother to flow through us. And then naturally, when we are in higher consciousness, we can feel that presence of love. We don't get caught by our ego trying to fulfill itself. And so Yogananda offered us many opportunities through the practice of Kriya Yoga, through Hang Sa, through energization exercises, through prayer, through chanting. All of these, we get to know God. And so before we seek to serve God and act in the right way, we have to first spend that time getting to know God. And as Yogananda said, the highest of all actions is meditation. And so the more we spend in longer, deeper, thirsty, guru-given meditation, as Yogananda said, we get to know God and we feel that presence. Then it becomes a reference point that we can then begin to serve from that point of reference, that place in our hearts that we feel that everything is flowing from that place. And the more, as Shanti said, that at the point between the eyebrows is the easiest way for us to tune into this power, this energy of God flowing through us. So the more we can fix our energy here with just taking a moment out of our day and just concentrating here, close the eyes and focus there for even a few moments before we go forth with that which is being asked of us to do. And so the more that we can become absorbed here at the point between the eyebrows, the more we will feel again that everything that we do is just this energy flowing through us that is God, that is Divine Mother. There was a really great exercise that Swami Kriyananda gave a workshop just a few weeks ago that I attended. And in this exercise, it was trying to help us understand how we can become more absorbed in higher consciousness, so that whenever we are serving, whenever we're meditating, we can act from that place within us of higher consciousness. And in this exercise, we split up into partners, and there was person 1 and person 2. And we sat very close to each other, facing each other. And person number 1, their job was to tell a story to person 2. Actually, the most inspiring moment in their life spiritually, that they would communicate that to the other person with trying to speak from this point of higher consciousness of the third eye. And person number 2, their role was to then receive that message here, focusing, absorbed in that piece at the point between the eyebrows. And so person number 1, who I was listening to their most inspiring story in their life, and it was very inspiring, very, very touching, of how God awoken them in this life to seek his guru. And it was very beautiful. And you could really feel as you became more conscious of concentrating here, the more you began to feel a sense of upliftment. It was very beautiful. So then after that, we spent a minute meditating, and then we were to switch roles. Person number 2 would share with person number 1 the most. Well, actually, at that point, we didn't know what we were sharing. So person number 2 was then to share, again, feeling absorbed in that stillness and that calmness at the point between the eyebrows, and then vice versa with person number 1 to receive it. And so we meditated for a minute, and then the topic that I had to share was how to brush your teeth. So I thought, okay. So he said, then go. And so I started to share how you brush your teeth. And I could feel as I started to share that story, this downward flow of energy. Because brushing your teeth, it's a little mundane. It can be exciting, but it's a little mundane. And so I was telling him how to brush his teeth, and then we stopped, and we meditated. And the lesson here was that we have to raise our energy, working on trying to be ever more focused on here at the point between the eyebrows and calling to the Divine Mother, calling to God to flow through us, even in the most mundane things. Because, again, life is just filled with many little details. And so when we can feel that everything in our life is an opportunity for us to call to Divine Mother to flow through us, it is in that yearning that we seek freedom in this lifetime of oneness with God. As Yogananda said, that we must first go through Om. We must merge with Om before we can attain Christ consciousness. Om is that presence of Divine Mother's love in all creation. So the more that we can yearn in every moment, keep coming back to that place in our heart of yearning for Divine Mother, as Yogananda did, as Yogananda cried to Divine Mother, you will hear her. You will feel her presence. And just recently, many of you know Adam and Molly. I believe they were here for many years. And Molly just gave birth to a baby boy. And we were all asked in the community to start praying for this new, this baby boy. This baby boy had some issues with blood sugar levels, and there was lots of things going on that everyone was very concerned. And so, of course, they took the baby away from Molly, and things were just kind of slipping away with many problems starting to come up. And so everyone was praying in the community for this precious little boy just entering into the world. And it was a couple of days that, again, we got a message saying, please continue to pray because things are they're still finding many difficulties. And it came at the time of just, I think it was yesterday, we all received an email to say that everything has completely shifted. And if you kept reading in the message, as soon as the baby boy was brought to Molly, they said that as soon as he heard her voice and felt her presence, everything shifted. And so for us, just the same, no matter what is happening in our life, if we can stop and feel and listen for Divine Mother's presence, everything will shift. Again, as Swami Kriyananda, Yogananda have urged us, that the most important thing is to focus on love of God. I'll end with this story that my first time meeting Swami Kriyananda, I had the opportunity to interview him. And I asked him quite many questions over the course of a couple of hours. I just kept asking, he kept answering, so I kept going. And toward the end of the interview, I thought, he's so patient and so loving that I just keep asking so many questions. I, at the very end, meditated, and I said, I'd like to ask you one more question, Swamiji. And I said, if you had to pick only one thing that Master Yogananda gave to you, only one thing, what would it be? And so Swamiji reflected for a moment, and then he said so sweetly and so powerfully, he said, well, Yogananda helped me learn how to love God. Love of God is the only thing that matters. Okay? And there was just this deep peace and power that again and again, if we don't get caught up in all of life's changes, of the ups and downs, and we keep yearning for Divine Mother, she will guide us, she will bless us. So may you all feel Divine Mother's blessings ever more succinctly in your life.